Welcome to the Nayba Impact Report for Frankston, Victoria. We are so excited to share the results of this independent social audit, a citywide survey that answers the question, what good is faith? We will hear from the local Nayba team and civic leaders discuss how faith is indeed a force for good in this community, according to verified data. And you will gain a sense of not only what is being done, but what might be possible to achieve by churches and faith-based organisations as they cooperate for the common good in our great city of Frankston. But first, here is Shane Clark of the Bunurong clan, who brings a welcome to country.
Hello everybody, my name's Shane Clark, traditional custodian of the lands that we come together with the Bunurong people. And I'd like to welcome all our visitors that's coming via Zoom, and it would have been good to be able to come face to face, to meet, talk, learn, come together in Bunurong country. We're here today to do a welcome. Just welcome everybody here. It's like, first of all, I would like to pay my respects to my elders, both past and present. So just in a few words, Dinka, Woody Yao, Muslim Bunurong. And thus welcome a new friend to the land of the Bunurong. Thank you.
The Nayba Impact Report has been carried out with the full support of Frankston City Council, representing, as of 2016, a local government area of over 134,000 residents. Here is our Mayor, Chris Bolam.
Hello, my name is Chris Bolam and I'm the Mayor of Frankston City Council, and I'm very pleased to be providing an endorsement today. Frankston City is fortunate to benefit from the support and goodwill of many faith-based charities and not-for-profit organisations that undertake incredible work within our community. We have especially seen the positive impact of their outreach during this pandemic, with local churches and faith groups organising practical support such as food and other essentials for those in dire need. Our community has also benefited from faith-based mental health, outreach and other critical programs designed to reconnect residents to their communities during this difficult time. It is also wonderful to see the increasing diversity of these organisations and how this is reflective of our very growing community. Frankston City has always enjoyed a friendly and productive working relationship with local faith groups, which predates this pandemic and will continue well into the future. Thank you and take care.
The Nayba Impact Report is sponsored by the Frankston Ministers Network. Its president, the Reverend Mark Whitby, was one of the first leaders to see the wider social value of such a report and worked with local church leaders to bring the audit to our city.
A significant scripture found in Mark's Gospel is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." And then it says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength." And the second is like it, "Love your neighbour as yourself." No other commandment is greater than this. This powerful declaration, which Jesus quotes from the Jewish Torah, known as the Shema, resonates through church history as the foundation stone of his church throughout all the world. That people of faith are to love God first and foremost, and second, they are to love others. One day, Jesus was tested by one of the teachers of the law, and he was asked, "Who then is my neighbour?" Jesus answered with the parable of the Good Samaritan. It was about a man who'd been attacked by robbers and left for dead, and he received no help from the religious leaders, only from a Samaritan, who were often reviled by many in Jesus' day. In sharing this challenging picture with his audience, Jesus was describing one of the chief roles of his people, that they were to love the outcast and those that others reject. I've led the Frankston Ministers Network for many years, and it's been my privilege to oversee the churches of our city as we have endeavoured to fulfil these words, that we are called to care for the disconnected, the lost, and the friendless. The church across the city of Frankston and other faith groups have loved and supported and cared for the lonely and the disenfranchised for many years, just as Jesus called us to do. This Nayba report is telling the story of true faith here in Frankston. I'm so thankful for the wonderful work of mercy and compassion that happens every day right across our city. The prophet Jeremiah once said, "Seek the welfare of the city where I've sent you and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." Thank you to the Nayba team for the hard work in preparing this report. I believe it'll help us to look at even greater ways we can care and support for our city going forward. Thank you.
As we get closer to revealing the results of the report, let's hear the National Director of Nayba, Nick McKay, as he talks with the patron of Nayba, Reverend Tim Costello, about the role and potential of Nayba in Frankston and across Australia.
Thank you for joining me, and thank you for the remarkably important role that you've played in this process. We'll talk a little bit about that. You are involved in more initiatives, organisations, coalitions, campaigns than most people, and you are patron of a number of those. Why on earth did you agree to be patron of what is now Nayba Australia, in addition to all of what you're already doing?
Yeah, so firstly, I've always seen myself as loving my neighbour and a community person. I think Christian faith at its heart is not about me. It's about others, and the secret of joy, whether you have faith or not, is actually discovering it's about others, not about yourself. So I think Nayba picks that up, and I was very happy to be a patron of Nayba. Secondly, as a Christian, I was really struck that the Christian church is doing so much, and yet people wouldn't know. You know, I guess it's because we're seen as so different, and so many different varieties. But, you know, everyone knows with football, you might have a different colours, a different club room, a different song, but everyone knows it's football. Churches have different songs, different club rooms, but people don't know the extraordinary reach, the service, the love of others that's going on, and Nayba amplifies that.
I love what you've picked up there, and I think you're absolutely right. Indeed, one of the ways in which Nayba is seeking to be able to tell those stories of the great work that's happening is through the Nayba Impact Audit and that process. In your opinion, what makes the audit so valuable as a tool, as an initiative for churches in a local region to be able to participate in?
Well, we live in a society where we know if it's not measured, it doesn't matter. In some ways, I wish it wasn't that way. The truth is that churches have never been measured in terms of social impact. Churches are known for maybe their architecture or a bishop pronouncing on, or a Tim Costello pronouncing on a social issue. But churches are actually people loving and serving and giving and going way beyond themselves every day, and that's never measured. That's what this audit is about, why it's so important.
Yeah. And so then let's talk a little bit about the audit in the context of Frankston. You were the one who initially suggested that this could be a great location in which to run an audit. Why was that?
Well, I moved here about 3 years ago, and I didn't know any of the Frankston churches. And I was quite staggered after moving here to visit a number of them, and I was literally blown away by two things. One, what they were doing in the community. Two, the remarkable unity the ministers of those churches had together. You know, sometimes the clubs, you know, whether it's in football or a religious sense, can be at each other's heads. This was a sense of cooperation, genuine friendship from the leaders down. And I thought, wow, this is the perfect area to do something like this audit.
Yeah, excellent. And it has been. It's been an absolute joy to work with the diversity of the church in the region. And now here we are at the end of the process and the final report about to be released. You've been given a sneak peek. What strikes you most about the findings of the audit, that the Nayba Impact Audit that has taken place now in Frankston?
Well, I knew churches were doing a lot. Just from my personal visiting, I had no idea how big that footprint and impact is. 25% of all residents in Frankston are being served by the churches, reached and connected with in very practical ways. That commutes to over $4 million of value, all provided by volunteers, by people who do it because they love God and they love their neighbours. And just the size of that footprint really blew me away.
That's beautiful. And where do we go from here, do you think, Tim? Because we've got these results. It's been a wonderful process, but as you know, from our perspective as Nayba, we want this to be about more than just an audit, more than just a process. What do you think are some of the next steps that we can take in order to help churches and other faith-based organisations in the region to find even better ways of loving their neighbour?
We all live out of a story. Frankston has lived out of the story often of a bit of shame and laughing at Frankston and bogans, and Melbourne knows about the needs often in Frankston. What we haven't known till now is the wave of compassion, care, community, a wave pushing back on that story that's negative, a positive story. I think the next steps are standing on the positive story, planting our feet in it. It's solid ground, this positive story, and saying, and there's even more we can do.
Amazing. Beautiful. Well, we are looking forward to that. Thank you again for the role that you've played in helping bring the Nayba Impact Audit to Frankston. Thanks for being here today, and I can't wait to see everything that comes from these findings and the practical ways in which we can continue to serve the church, both as a whole and in its different clubs and its different forms, in order to be of greatest benefit to those in the community. So thank you once again for everything that you do, Tim, and especially for your role in this process.
A blessing. Onwards and upwards in Frankston.
And so, to the report itself. It is the result of hundreds of hours of work, compiling data contributed by dozens of local churches and faith-based organisations from across the city of Frankston. It is an exciting report that reveals an amazing social benefit in our city as a direct result of faith in action. Here again is Nick McKay.
Hi, my name's Nick McKay and I'm the National Director of Nayba Australia. As Mark said, Jesus told us all to love our neighbour, and that's exactly what we help churches to do. One of the ways that we do this is through the Nayba Impact Audit, which measures the collective social impact of churches and faith-based organisations in a geographic region, and it puts a financial value on the time given to serving those in need. Over the past couple of months, we've been conducting an impact audit here in Frankston in partnership with the Frankston Ministers Network, and I'm delighted to share some of the key results with you today. Let's start with the respondents to the audit survey. Over 60% of all faith-based organisations in the region. Importantly, the vast majority of respondents were churches. So most of the numbers in this report aren't the result of large organisations, but rather local communities of faith seeking to shine a light into the wider community. Next, let's look at the work itself. 53 ongoing community service activities addressing 12 of the greatest social needs in the region. According to the audit responses, the top 3 needs being met are, number 1, material assistance, like the extensive provision of food and other necessities by Connect Church, or the Anglican Parish of Long Beach's Pantry 5000 initiative. Number 2, community connection, like Frankston Forest Baptist Church, who help reach out to vulnerable people in the local community with in-home based care. And number 3, support for children and youth, like Fusion, who work on the front line to help empower and advocate for young people in the region. But there's also amazing work being done in other areas. St Francis Xavier Catholic Church puts visiting those in need at the heart of living the gospel message. Whether it's individuals who are sick in hospital, residents in aged care in need of company, or families who are doing it tough. And Gateway Church has, for over 30 years, invested in the area of health and wellbeing through its active ministry, even helping to transform the culture of sport in Frankston. So who is being reached by the community service activities of the faith community? Well, as many as 30,000 people a year, equivalent to almost a quarter of the total population of Frankston. One example that many would be aware of is the work of Sikh Volunteers Australia, who have played a critical role during the COVID-19 pandemic in delivering meals to those in need across southeast Melbourne, including more than 500 people a week in Frankston alone. Another is the David Scott School, an initiative of the Brotherhood of St Lawrence that uses an innovative applied learning model to re-engage vulnerable young people in education and prepare them for the world of work. The school may be reaching a comparatively smaller number, about 120 students a year, but the impact in the lives of those young people is nothing short of profound. And what is all of this work actually worth? Almost $4.3 million a year. That's the social impact value to the Frankston community thanks to the efforts of churches and faith-based organisations. And to be clear, this is a conservative calculation based on the time being given by staff and volunteers alone, so the actual amount is likely far more. What's even more encouraging is that the faith community isn't trying to do it alone. There are multiple cases of collaboration with local council, health services, and other organisations, both faith-based and secular. Perhaps the most powerful example is the annual community Christmas lunch, initially pioneered by Frankston Life to address the disconnection and loneliness experienced by many people in the city, especially during the Christmas season. Over the past 20 years, it has become a standout event in the city, bringing together the Frankston Council, RSL, local farmers, entertainers, small businesses, and up to 170 volunteers who give up their Christmas day to love and serve others. And that's what it's all about. People of faith seeking to contribute to the peace and prosperity of their city, just as the book of Jeremiah instructs us to do. And it doesn't stop here. Over the coming months, we look forward to working with faith and civic leaders to analyse the results of the audit, identify key priorities, and find even better ways of collaborating for the benefit of those who call Frankston home. On behalf of Nayba, I want to commend the efforts of the churches and faith-based organisations across the region and pray the greatest blessing over all that is to come.
So now we know. Faith is a verifiable force for good in the community. May this report affirm the efforts of those who seek to address the greatest social needs throughout the Frankston region. May it inspire new partnerships and initiatives as we recognise the vision we share to see our local community flourish. And above all, may it lead to even more efforts to love our neighbour, providing genuine hope and new life to those who need it most.